NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast and a friendly face with some new news. I'm actually really excited about this. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
My name is Jason Moledzki, and I am the proud owner of Paraglide Moab.
Dude, I'm so stoked to get into this. I'm so excited because I've talked to you on and off for a while about the plans and all that stuff, and so I cannot wait for you to share what's going on because it's super fucking cool.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks very much, man. It's great to be back on the show, and it's great to see your face.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Super excited. I mean, I've been in skydiving for 30 years, and it's taken its toll on my body over that time. And it's been a real challenge to have to move away from air sports because the regular wear and tear and the pain from the activity, limiting my ability to enjoy my life. And so I found paragliding about 8 years ago and realized it's a lot lower impact on my neck specifically, my lower back, just the general wear and tear in it. And how much enjoyment I get out of it. It's really become my passion and my way to still access the sky and share it with others.
Which is fantastic. Although it's kind of funny that a lot of the motivation was to kind of avoid the wear and tear that we voluntarily deal on our bodies. But then the last time I saw you, you were torturing the shit out of yourself, finally finishing off your bodysuit tattoo.
It's a different things though, right? So yeah, thanks again for hosting me. It
Yeah, of
was really
course.
great to spend time with you in there in Finland. So that was a 7 year project of tattoo bodysuit, and I have to say I never imagined that was something that I was going to do in my life. It's just a journey that happened, and I felt the calling. I felt that it was the right thing to do, and so I'm really stoked to have just finally wrapped up that project and ended up with 168 hours total of time on the table getting
God
inked. Yeah.
damn, man. I mean, I remember seeing a bit of the progress and the dedication that both you and your artist put into it, and the work is very intricate and very detailed. I've been there watching you suffer trying to get out of a car after a 10-hour day on the table, you know?
There's nothing like getting your butt crack tattooed.
Right, right. So, I mean, obviously with skydiving, there's a pretty large inked culture in the sport as well. So, for your particular design, what was the drive? What was the impetus for what you ended up getting?
So the main piece that I have on my chest, the centerpiece of it is Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is a structure that is emblematic of sacred geometry, right? It's a piece of geometry that basically holds the keys to understanding the building blocks of the universe. I've got that on my chest, and I also have it on my back. And so for me, this is somewhat of a like a chakra portal through the heart to embrace that universal energy and collective consciousness of all that is. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
and this last trip was really cool as well because you were finally finishing off this enormous project that you've been doing for 7 years now and 168 hours, you said,
Yeah.
which is mind blowing in itself. And then the last day that you were here, I get a message going, "Hey, by the way, I'm gonna have lunch with a couple of friends I just found out were in town,"
Yeah, that
which
was great.
was completely random. And of course, it was a couple of skydivers that you've known for many, many years. And we're in Helsinki of all places, so not exactly a hub for skydiving. And it turns out we plopped down, and they're people that I've met, and I was friends with one of their previous partners. I mean, I fucking love this sport.
Yeah, it's such a small world. You know, one of my favorite things about skydiving, base jumping, paragliding, these like high adventure sports is the family is just so interwoven all around the planet. And I'll share a story is that on the when I came to see you last July, when I worked on my legs a bunch, I one of the sessions, I think it was our fourth or fifth session. I did a bunch of sessions in a row, and I was starting to reach, like the limits of what the mind and the body can handle as far as pain on the tattoo table. And I did a meditation where I started with just being grateful for the work that I'm doing and really like pushing through the pain in order to embody the vision that I have for myself as a spiritual being, right?
Mm.
And I started reaching out to the people in my first circle, like my immediate family, the ones that are there for me the most, and just sending them gratitude and just sending them love. And I went around that circle, and as soon as I got around that circle, I realized I'm just going to go around the next circle. Who's my second circle of friends? Who's my next circle of family? And I went around that circle, and it kept going, and it became a spiral. And I
Mm.
went around my inner circle to my outer circle to all the friends I've ever met all around the country, to all the friends I've met all around the world. And I just started going country by country, continent by continent, and thinking about the people that have impacted my life, that I've shared special feelings with, that we've shared special events, occasions, jumps, parties, life, pain, all the things. And by the time I was done with that meditation, we had been through 4 hours on the
Wow.
table of some of the most torturous parts of the body to be getting work done on.
Sure,
So,
dude,
yeah,
which is amazing to have that as a resource, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what meditation's really done for me is given me this deeper connection to the quantum, to the self, to the collective consciousness, to like the depths of gratitude, and really recognizing how special and how finite life really is,
Mm,
and the ability to transmute pain into gratitude and
sure.
into joy, and just have it be eventually that becomes love, right? And I'm just loving on all my friends all around the world who are so important to me and so special and beyond this world. That
Sure.
when I finish the laps around the earth, I'm like, hey, what about all my friends who aren't here anymore?
Yep.
Right? And just keep on going and
Yep.
just keep on going.
Yep.
And they're never gone, right? They're part of our lives forever.
Oh, of
So
course. Well, and it was
yeah.
funny because I kind of got to see a snapshot of your process of dealing with that kind of stuff firsthand the first time that you came out here, which was what, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago,
Been two
um,
years ago, yeah.
when we went cold dipping. Because the
Yeah.
first time we went, it was a very short dip in because it was proper cold. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I want to say 2 degrees Celsius, so just above, freezing. And I think we were only in for maybe 30 seconds. And then we went back the next day, and you were kind of angry at yourself because you're like, man, I just didn't let myself embrace the experience. So the next time, 5 fucking minutes. And I'm too stubborn. So as soon as I saw you weren't getting out, I'm like, fuck him, man. I'm not getting out until he does. And we both ended up hypothermic for the rest of the day.
I saw the sideways look in your eye when I was sitting there just going pushing past the 2 minute mark, pushing past the 3 minute mark. I see you glancing over and I'm like, the first day I was a bit jet lagged and fatigued, and when I went in the water, I was immediately chilled, and I just didn't have the stamina to push it to. But I've done a lot. Usually 5 minutes is kind of my mark, but that water's cold, man. That's
Yeah.
it's proper cold. So when we got out, we both looked like a tomato, just glowing
Oh
pink
yeah.
red,
Oh
you know.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
my wife, as soon as we got back to the house, she's looking at both of us like, you're both idiots.
I love it, man. It invigorates me. I feel great afterwards. I've really found cold plunging and sauna. Those two practices together are just such a powerful soak and squeeze of the cellular body, and really helping to respirate the cells and move the liquids and move the toxins and feel great afterwards.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, especially the mental side of things. If you can handle a solid cold plunge, man, it just turns the volume down on all the rest of the bullshit. Because if you can handle
Yeah.
that, because it's such an instantaneous assault on everything that we, view as comfortable, and all of a sudden you're like, fuck me. And if you can get through that, it's amazing.
Yeah, the body really wants to reject that idea of being in the cold water after about 30 or 40 seconds. Is a real breaking point. If we can get to the 2 minute mark,
Yep.
it settles down. And I find like from 2 to 4 minutes, there's a cruising zone in there
Yep.
that if you just stay focused on your breathing, it's really pretty neutral. It's
Yeah.
it's really not a lot, but that climb to the 2 minute mark, the body is just sending every bit of signal to say something's panic, panic, panic. Don't stay here. But after the 2 minute, it starts to level off, and I
Yep.
find that I start to shiver usually around the 4, 5, or 6 minute mark, depending on
Yep.
how warm I am. I'll start getting the shiver. And I usually intentionally push to that point, because once the body moves into shiver, there starts being a conversion of the brown fat in the body. And that's so, when you look at a cut of meat, and there's like the chalky kind of fat that's kind of placky, and then
Yep.
there's the really soft kind of fat. The soft stuff burns real quick, right? Like that's our belly fat, right? That's the stuff that we carry in all the squishy parts on our body.
Sure.
But that chalky stuff, that's the stuff that's really bad for us. It builds up around our organs, it builds up in our arteries. And when you hit shiver, it triggers the mechanisms in the body to start transferring that fat to from brown to white. I believe I'm saying that the right way. Maybe I'm dyslexic again.
Eh,
I'm dyslexic a lot.
eh.
But yeah, that shiver point's critical to get to. And I like to get out and stand there, usually naked in
Yeah. Yeah.
cold, and shiver for a good solid minute and just let the teeth chatter,
Yep.
and
Yep.
just be in that experience for a little while. And then And then, of course, sinking into either a hot soak or a
Oh,
warm sauna and just letting the heat come back into the body. It's so good.
oh yeah. There's honestly, there's nothing better. Oh, so hey, for anybody that didn't get to listen to the first episode that we did, let's jump back to a reintroduction of how you got into the sport and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, sure. So I started skydiving in 1994. So I'm coming into my 31st year now. Static line jump, Cessna drop zone, very typical of the era, you know, Manta 288 for my first parachute and, radio controlled to the ground. We had a big tuffet with a great big P pit all around it and an accuracy, style and accuracy drop zone of the day. Uh, and I was really lucky that the drop zone I started at had a really competitive nature. Like they really encouraged competition at that
Mm,
drop zone. And it was largely style and accuracy, but also some four-way competition as well. And I got into it immediately upon the parachute opening from my first jump. I was hooked
mm,
instantaneously. As soon as the parachute was open, what happened was I got a rush of neurochemistry, which I had not had for a very long time. I'd been living in a really challenged life experience. I had a lot of grief and a lot of loss and a lot of pain in my life. I'd been through a lot of traumatic events in my childhood and teenage years. And at 21 years old, when I decided to go skydiving, I was hoping that the parachute wouldn't open,
mm,
because I was sick of getting up in the morning and living the life that I was living. I was
mm,
miserable. And when the parachute opened, I got this flood of neurochemistry, serotonin, adrenaline, oxytocin, dopamine, and I felt like, holy shit, I'm fucking alive again. And I feel amazing. And I haven't felt this way since I can ever remember. And all I want to do is do this again. So
mm.
I was immediately hooked. It was you try it one time and you're done. I'm an addict,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really what happened is I got addicted to it immediately and I kept going back for more like a fiend, right? Like every chance I could get, that's all I wanted was more of that, more of that. And I went after it hardcore. By my second year, I had 500 jumps on my under my belt and I was jumping off the bridge, you know?
Yep,
So
yep.
no holding back.
Mm. So it was, I mean, it was a one-way road for you as soon as you made that first jump, and you knew it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was no other option. I was like, I had nothing in my life that was bringing me joy except for my motorcycle, and I could ride that to the drop zone,
Nice,
you know, you know?
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the progression for you, looking back, starting in 94, and by the time you and I would have crossed paths for the first time would have been 2003, 2004 in
Yep.
Cross Keys, and that was the PTS tour, the Swoop tour. Um, that's a really, especially for back then, that was quite an accelerated path to go from a novice jumper to competition level swooper.
Yeah. So first jump, June 4th, 1994. September 1997, full cutaway. I was quitting my job. I had broken my leg on a bad swoop and had to leave my job for a couple months to recover. And then decided I wasn't going to go back to work
Mm,
and decided to go skydiving full time instead. So at the end of 97, I left the blue collar real world behind and I went full commitment on skydiving. Moved to Titusville, Florida, and committed to a 6 month training block with the rest of my four-way team at the time. Everybody put $10,000 each into a pot, and we committed to doing 400 four-way formation skydiving jumps, coached every day. Getting up at 7 o'clock, be on the drop zone at 7, stretching, and then to try to do 10 jumps a day every day
mm.
that the weather would allow for it, with the goal of becoming the Canadian national four-way formation skydiving team.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lofty goal right from the beginning.
I like big goals, man.
Oh, for sure.
And I love the long game, right? Like I'm in for it, right? Everything about immediate gratification is really present in skydiving and base jumping. Like you do it, you get immediately, you feel awesome. But I love the long haul. I love like it taking it decades to develop a skill set to be able to truly master something. That's a real
Sure.
joy in this life is, you
Yeah,
know.
well, and skydiving kind of offers both all in one. I mean, it's kind
Yep.
of the
Yep.
perfect fix because you get that immediate gratification, but you also still have those long-term goals that just continue to add on and add on and add on.
Yep. Yeah,
So now,
definitely.
when did swooping and more specifically the PD team come into focus for you?
Yeah, so in the year 2000, I had been nomadic, right? Had an RV, had all my ratings, tandem, AFF, had a full video setup, rigger, like I could do everything in the sport and was roaming around the country. And so I had all the ratings, I had all the way to make money. I could skydive and I could make money and I could survive and I could do all the things. And I was already wingsuiting, already swooping, already base jumping. And I had to pick something to focus on, right? I always need to have like a target, something that I'm aspiring to. And I had been tinkering around. I'd been to the Pond Swoop Nationals at the ranch, 97, 98, those kind of times. And I'd been to some swoop competitions at the World Freefall Convention. So I'd already dabbled like 4 or 5 different competitions. And I heard that there was going to start to be more events. I knew about the Daytona 5000, the Caribbean Challenge, the Para Performance Games, the Ranch. There's all these swoop meets starting to show up on the calendar and some blade running events. And I thought, this is it, man. This is the emerging edge of a new discipline. And
Yeah.
I'm here for it. And my mentor, the guy who really taught me to skydive and taught me how to fly my parachute, and who I learned most of my skills from in my first 1,500, 2,000 jumps was Sean Lemire. And he was a badass under a parachute. I mean,
Mm.
just a beast of a canopy pilot. He made everybody go, like, whoa, like, especially in those days when people really didn't have it figured out and everybody was just trying stuff.
Yeah.
And he was wicked under a parachute. And so him being my mentor, he died in 1998 at the end of our training period. We never ended up going to nationals on the four-way team because he went in on a
Mm.
swoop.
Oh, wow.
And it was heartbreaking for me. It was the first big loss that I had in the sport. And it left me with a lot of kind of the same stuff I had with my dad, which I lost my dad when I was really young too. And so Sean was a bit of a father figure to me.
Mm.
And I really wanted to make him proud and go swoop at the competitions and show what I could do as a bit of a honoring and a remembrance and a ode to my friend and my mentor.
Mm.
So that summer of 2000, I had ordered a brand new Velocity, the first new parachute I'd ever bought.
Yeah.
Had taken some money that I came across and decided to dump it into a brand new Velocity. They just came out at the time. They were fresh on the market.
Right.
And I took it to Skydive Arizona. And I remember I was pulling out of the parking lot in Skydive Chicago. And Johnny Utah ran over to me real quick and he said, hey, ask me a question. I'm like, hey, I gotta go. I'm going to Arizona. I'm gonna go swoop. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yep, I am gonna be a pro swooper. And he's like, what? Like that's not those two words don't exist. That is not
Right.
something that actually is. And I'm like, I am gonna go do that. I'm gonna go be around the best skydivers in the world at the best place to skydive in the world. And I'm going to learn how to be a champion and I'm going to apply it to this discipline that I'm in the, cutting edges of
Sure.
pioneering. And that's what I did, man. I just went head down, grindstone, and went after it for the next dozen years, you know.
I mean, when you came to my attention, it was blue, black, and white canopies just doing ridiculous shit over the pond in Cross Keys, training to do the PTS tour in Wildwood.
Pro swoop
And
tour, yeah.
yeah, and
PST.
yeah, PST, and so we would come out and watch you guys come in, and this was back when Heath Richardson was at the top of the pyramid, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden now we're not just watching Heath, we're watching two ways and three ways and these amazing shit that nobody had ever seen before, and I think that was kind of where the whole Tuesday morning swoop club that ended up starting in Cross Keys,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
believe still goes to this fucking day, started from that era, and that, hey, this is what can be done. We need to be out there learning how.
So, here's a great story is that I showed up in Paris Valley, California for the para performance games, and they had individual competitions, and they also had a two-way event because, Team Extreme was there at the time, and there were a couple other swoopers who were kind of partnered up and doing two-way stuff. And I had been training in Arizona with Topher, um, Christopher Topher. Yeah. Anyways, I'd been training with him, and he was the only guy that, everybody. Imagine this. I mean, you don't see this anymore, but at the time when I was jumping in Skydive Arizona, he was the only other person landing with rear risers. It was
Mm.
me and him. Nobody else were using rear risers to level off our parachutes. And so we would do four-way formation skills camps jumps, and I would be the videographer, and he'd be the airspeed team member doing the coaching, and then we'd link up, and I would chase him in, and we would do two-way formation swoops. So I had quite a bit of practice with him and with my team back in Titusville. So I show up to para performance games. I end up placing second in the speed category, and Heath took first. And I looked over and I'm like, hey, man, we do the same turn, and you're first and I'm second. Let's put a pickup team together right here and now, and let's go win this thing. And that's exactly what we did.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, I vividly remember, and I still have videos of some of the swoop stuff that they would do in Cross Keys, and you may have even been around when they brought the fire truck out.
Oh, yeah, I was swooping that day. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, fucking
Yeah.
fantastic. I was standing on the sidelines filming that, and all of us just absolutely loving the show. Because for those that weren't there and didn't get that great experience, the fire department would come out and fill up the Cross Keys swoop pond, but they would do it at a time when they would arc this massive, beam of water into the pond, and all the hotshot swoopers would swoop into and under the water.
Yeah.
And it was fucking fantastic. But I'll never forget, you always knew when you saw a couple of canopies in the air that you were going to see something that looked effortless. Like
Yeah.
most of the swoopers, you were counting on a spill on the sidelines, or chowing into the pond, or bailing out and not even going for it. But you knew when you saw a few specific canopies that they were going to make it look real fucking easy. And you and Heath were obviously at the top of that heap.
Yeah, man. I have to say, the period of time that I got to fly with Heath Richardson is one of the biggest gifts I've ever received in the sport.
Mm.
In flight, we had a synergy where everything was intuitive. We barely talked about anything. We
Mm.
had very little conversation about what we were going to do, but we had just 100% trust in one another.
Mm.
And so that gave us the ability to do things because he had 100% trust in himself, and I had 100% trust in myself and my skills. And both of us had this like impenetrable confidence, right? And so if I believed that all I had to do was follow him, I wouldn't even look down, man. Like I've done a whole jump into a crazy tight course where I've never taken my eyes off of his hands, never looked down at the crowd, never looked at the course. The first time I see the entry gate is when we finish snapping the turn.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
That is some proper faith in the lead right there.
Yeah, and that's the relationship that we had, and we never let each other down. It was a period of about 3 years where we flew as a unit, right?
Sure.
Like we were peace partners, and we just knew each other, every single thing. I could tell right before he was going to do something. I could see and intuitively knew what he was going to do next.
Sure.
And so I could lead it. I could get ahead of the movement so that things would be perfectly synergized. And it's just, I've never had that again with anybody else where it was that kind of like just matching each other's frequency of what we're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
And I've looked back at it many times fondly. And our free flying was the same way. We loved just shredding together. So
Sure.
yeah, great memories, great guy. And we still good friends to this day.
Sure. Now, this would have been around the time that the PD team was becoming kind of a household name, especially in that. So, talk to me a little bit about how PD, how that team started, and then how it eventually transitioned into what's become the most successful instruction in canopy coaching out there.
Sure. So that pickup team I was telling you about at the para performance games, Ian and Shannon were on the formation skydiving team from PD at the time, right? There initially the factory team was a four-way team, and they were there doing the swoop meet, and they thought, "Hey, we're hot shits. We're going to win this. We do this two-way swooping all the time." And Heath and I schooled them. We beat them,
Ah,
and so they thought, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
nice.
And so they called up Heath and I and said, "We want you two guys to be our other two for our factory canopy piloting team." And so that was the impetus of the factory team.
And I
Yeah.
mean, we're for those that don't know, it's time to start learning a little bit of history about skydiving and definitely swooping. You're talking about Ian Bobo and Shannon Pilcher,
Yeah.
along with Heath Richardson and yourself. Were I mean, that's still the gold standard for a team. It really
Thanks
is.
very much.
Yeah,
That
man.
really means a lot. Thank you.
I mean, it left an indelible mark on so many people, and you must get that all the time, though. Even for people that don't really know a lot of the history and don't know a lot of specifics about what you've done, they all remember what the PD team did and how they kind of pioneered how to do it.
Yeah. There was a competitor, and I can't remember his name right now. He's a Russian fella from New York, and it was around 2005 or so. He was at one of the meets and he came to us and he said, "I have a new name for your team." He said, "Dream Crushing Factory Team." He's like, "I dream of being a champion and you just crush my dreams every time."
Yep, yep. That sounds about right. Well, and for people like me, I would see the stuff that you guys were doing and just kind of sideline those dreams from the beginning. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I can't do that shit.
You
So,
know,
no, go
Go
ahead, go
ahead.
ahead.
You.
I was just gonna say, so with all of that, obviously you guys had an incredible amount of personal experience, learning to compete and kind of paving the way. How did that transition into what became eventually Flight One?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right on point. The the sport was at a really interesting point in its evolution at
Mm,
that period of time. In the early 2000s, there was one canopy piloting school focused on teaching people the basics of canopy flight, and that was Scott Miller through Performance Designs. And then school was Freedom of Flight. It was a bit of a hybrid of free flying and Scott Miller doing canopy coaching. At the
mm,
time, Scott was the lead test jumper for Performance Design's R&D department,
mm,
right? So he test jumped all the parachutes that are commonplace in the market today, the Katana, the Spectre, the Saber 2, things that have just been the staples. He was the one who was doing the R&D work on those canopies. So he knew canopy flight really, really well, and he's an incredible teacher. He was in DeLand delivering these courses, and he knew that the demand was starting to increase, that he couldn't handle the amount of work that needed to be done. And seeing as we were already on the same team, like with the same factory, working with the same company, we decided to start partnering up and offering courses. So he taught our team what he was teaching with basic canopy flight, how to teach how to flare.
mm.
And at the same time, we had started running skills camps and like invitational swoop camps for other canopy pilots that wanted to fly with us and that wanted to develop their own skill sets and wanted the opportunity to be in an immersive learning environment. So initially, we started handling the high performance end of the clientele that were out there, and Scott was managing the lower end, less experienced jumpers. And it started to cross over more and more. And we were learning from each other. Scott was learning stuff from us, we were learning stuff from him. And our first Flight One camps, we came up with a name around a campfire out on the little island on the river near DeLand. We were doing our annual retreat, and we would rent one of these little cabins, and we would have our little couple day retreat. We talked about our plans and our goals and set all of our plans and actions. And we decided to put that name together, and we ran skills camps, say 2002, 3, 4, 5 time, right? And around 2006 is when things pivoted. We had already taught, I think we had about half a dozen people who were doing the essential skills courses or doing the swoop camps at that point. And we had a special forces officer come to us and say, "You guys are 25 years ahead of us. We're
Hmm.
lagging so far behind in our world right now because there just hasn't been any development. There hasn't been any evolution of equipment or of training for such a long time. And you guys are rocketing away as far as skill sets and the techniques and the technology that we're using." And he said, you got to help us get up to speed. And so we started working with this special forces group. And that was really the beginning of our evolution, because what that meant was we had to stop being hippie, lazy, showing up late, like loose. You couldn't be a loose skydiver and work in with these teams,
No.
right? So we had a lot of policies that had to start getting put in place, which I think you could probably understand what that means.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a lot more professionalism, right?
Sure.
So you don't show up in flip-flops,
Yep.
just a little bit more professional across the board. And now that was 2006. So we're coming on 20 years. Next year will be 20 years since we've started working with the teams. And now we're the world's leading provider of canopy flight training to NATO special forces and rescue teams.
That's fucking awesome. I mean, it must be a bit of a weird reality check to think not only about the reach that Flight One has had within the military, but within the civilian world. The number of incidents avoided, and I mean, let's face it, lives saved through the training that's happened in Flight One is immeasurable in the sport. It really is.
Thank you. And we think we're coming up on 50,000 clients that we've worked with in our
I mean,
in our time.
that's 50,000 people that learned invaluable lessons that have obviously served them incredibly well over the years.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, like in that early 2000s time, there really wasn't any good information out there. If you couldn't find Scott Miller, you were getting, and not no discredit to anybody, but as a whole, we as a sport did not know what we were doing collectively. There
Sure.
was no agreement upon the correct techniques. What is the most important thing? Like, there's a lot of good information, but there was a lot of bad information, right? A lot of it was opinion or perspective and not really science, or this is the right way and this is the wrong way. And credit to working with the military, to having to get our shit in order
Mm,
to really figure out what are the right answers, and creating two things. One is using technology as a tool to start to understand what's actually going on, so that when we're speaking, we're not using our opinion or perspective, but
yep.
we're looking at data, and the data is providing the answer.
Sure.
So if you sit in a classroom with me nowadays, I'm not going to answer your question. You're going to answer your own question by looking at what the data shows you.
Sure. Sure.
And then it's not subjective anymore. It's really about what is actually happening.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a big pivot.
I got kind of lucky in that I kind of fell into it in a good time, in that when I was still very low experience under canopies and not in a rush to downsize or get on anything fast. That was the toggle whipping stiletto time,
Oh yeah.
when people were frapping in all the time, and by the time I got onto high performance, I knew already the first time that I got on to a velo that rears were the way to go, speed was your friend, all the different things that a lot of people had to learn the hard way. I was lucky enough that that was getting to be common knowledge, but for a lot of people it wasn't. And now common is taking a canopy course, common is starting with that 101 course and learning the basics and then working your way up. And that's, I mean, you guys pioneered that.
Yeah, we teach rear riser landings in our 200 series courses. And the we amongst Flight One, we've agreed that that's a tool set that everybody should be able to handle. It's just like being able to drive a stick shift,
Yeah.
right? If you consider yourself being able to drive an automobile, you should be able to drive a stick shift.
Yep.
If you can only drive an automatic, your skill set is not fully developed,
Yep.
right? So we teach rear risers in our 200 series courses, and I'm proud to say, like, I learned to do rear risers on my own. I learned that in the late 90s by myself in Lake Wales. I was starting to level off without needing any input because of the turn technique developing to the point where it was becoming optimized. And then this just started to feel like it was something I could do and it would work, and started using rear risers as that first downshift on the landings. And I didn't have a role model or somebody to follow who was doing it already. I just did it,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, there's actually a question I've always wanted to ask, because you were competing and going hardcore at a time when the king of the hill was only one manufacturer, and that was PD. What was it like when all of a sudden there was starting to be competition on the horizon? And of course, I'm talking specifically about my sponsor sitting right behind me.
Yeah.
Then NZ Aerosports, now Gyro. I know that that the major manufacturers in our sport actually kind of embrace each other quite well. Everybody gets along quite well. But was there ever a holy shit, there's a new kid in town?
So I disagree with what you said in there. First of
Okay.
all, in the mid 90s, so 95, 6, 7 kind of time, I was going to World Free Fall Convention. Okay. And Charlie Mullins was flying a 69 VX. I think it was 1996.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
So Icarus canopies at the time
Yeah.
had a 27 cell cross brace, 69 square foot canopy in like 1996, 97.
I
Okay.
forgot all about that.
Okay. And then Christopher Irwin had a 58, I think, that he was flying when I was in Titusville in 97. So Icarus canopies at the time was already cutting the pathway of like really high performance. And I flew that shit. I got my hands on a 73, I think it was, from Icarus. And that someone, it was this kind of the sponsorship program at the time was kind of like, yeah, here's a wing, go see how you do.
Right.
So I got my hands on a 73, and then I got my hands on a 58, and I, ripped that shit a bunch. And a lot of the time I was in Arizona flying my Velo, I was also flying Icarus canopies as well.
That's
Uh,
cool.
and not to forget, two things. One, George Galloway had the Chaos in there in the late 90s, early 2000s as well. And I think it was 01, 99, 01 when Luigi was jumping that 46.
Was it that far back?
Yes, yeah. I flew that 46 in like 02 or 03. So
Jesus
he had
Christ.
already been flying it for a couple years at the time, right? So the market did have a lot of rivalry, and the Icarus Team Extreme, that was based out of Paris Valley, California, initially they were all yellow and
Right.
black, and they really had the look, the matching suits and everything. And PD Factory Team was only like a couple months behind as far as like landing on the stage,
Sure.
and
Sure.
we were just on different ends of the country. So it was just different worlds. And right behind that was the Chaos team, and the only thing that really I would say happened there was Team Extreme didn't last,
Mm.
right? They only made it for a few seasons, like maybe 4 or 5 years before the team dissolved, and Slayton and Luigi and Clausen and Cole Clazier split off, and we plucked Cole Clazier over to PD Factory Team, and
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that's been the story ever since. So, and
Well,
let me bring it back around.
yeah,
Let
yeah.
me bring it back around because Gyro, formerly Icarus, and has always been a powerful player, and I've always had huge respect for their offerings, and we've always been great friends. Attila's a great friend of mine. We talk
Oh
all
yeah.
the time, right?
Oh
We
yeah.
we love each other, and it was really when the Petra came on the scene that
Yeah.
we started seeing more like rivalry kind of stuff going on between the two real big offerings, which is Performance Designs and now Gyro, right?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, there were a few other canopies that came out around that time as well that didn't really stand the test of time. What was the one the it had a print to it, like a multicolored top skin. Oh, the Batwing.
Oh my gosh, I
You
flew
remember
those things. They
that?
were junk. They were
Yeah, yeah.
terrible.
Oh, I
Yeah, yeah,
know it. We had there were a lot of incidents on that canopy because it was not the
yeah.
most stable wing for
They
sure.
were stall friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've
Yeah.
heard. I've never flown one myself, but that's what I heard. But hey, I want to stop talking about skydiving and I want to talk about your new venture because I was so excited to hear when you initially started talking about it, and now it's up and running. So please tell me all about what you got going on.
Yeah, so I got into paragliding seriously about 8 years ago. I went and did a proper student course and took, did my training. And when I decided to move out here to Moab, I really started to embrace paragliding as the thing that I was doing most of the time. Base jumping slipped to the side. I'm doing less and less and less, and now I'm basically doing almost none.
Mm,
One jump here or there, and really not skydiving at all anymore. So paragliding's really become this new venture. And what I realized is, man, the wings are amazing. Like the wings are amazing. The potential energy that's in those wings and what they can do. I've always been a seeker of performance and efficiency and speed, whether it's fast or slow, right?
yep,
Speed is a range.
yep.
And I started realizing that what's out there and what's possible and what can actually happen and falling in love with the sport of paragliding, um, and spending hours and hours and hours. I lived at the point of the mountain for like 3 months in Salt Lake City and just had an RV parked there and just every day fly, 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 fly. And developed my skills to where I feel like I'm now starting to get an understanding of it. I won't call
Sure,
myself an expert in any way because I know that there are so many people out there in this sport that know so much more than I do. I
sure.
still, and I love being in something and being new at it. All right. Like
Yeah.
having that, I'm an expert pilot. I'm a world-class pilot, right? One of the best that's ever been. And here I am flying a wing very similar to what I've spent my life flying, but very different. And I am not a world-class pilot. I'm a good pilot, but I ain't no world-class pilot. And it's great to feel that back where I was as a younger man, feeling like excited and challenged and nervous and all the good things. And recently, I've just been getting further and further away from skydiving and not feeling the real desire to want to be on the drop zone so much and
Mm.
wanting to do my own thing, wanting to have my own business that's just mine and be the boss. And the opportunity came along here in Moab and it just felt like the right thing. And honestly, I didn't think it through. I just said, I'm going with my gut. I'm following my instinct and I'm going after it. And so it's been about 10 months since making the decision to possibly open a new paragliding business. And now here we are, opening day 2 days ago, and everything's just looking up and up. Yeah, it's
I
great.
mean, beside the fact that you're in a stunningly beautiful place, and beside that you're in the fact that are in an area that draws so many people to come and enjoy the kind of beauty that Moab has to offer, you're also surrounded by a ridiculous crew of fellow pilots and base jumpers and skydivers. I mean, you got Katie and Will and all the crew there that's doing a tandem base, and now
Mhm.
you're doing the tandem paragliding business. I mean, it's got to be nice to know that even though you're not a day-to-day involved in the drop zone life, that you still have that same community is still there with you the whole way.
Yeah, it's awesome. The community here really supports one another really well for the most part. Most everybody gets along pretty good. The drop zone here is fantastic. Keith Macbeth is a lifelong friend of mine. His whole is family to me, and they run a great operation here. It's just got an awesome vibe. And then you've got the tandem base guys, you've got the rope swing, you've got rappel companies, you've got the climbing, you've got mountain biking, you've got dirt biking, you've got side by sides, you got the hot air balloon rides with Jimmy. Like there's just so much epic adventure going on here. So it truly is destination recreation. and everybody's happy to send each other a customer because if you've already got the customer, they came and they checked their box, their bucket list of like, hey, I rode a higher balloon in Moab, or hey, I jumped off a cliff, and they're like, hey, but did you paraglide? You know, so
Right?
I've just been really fortunate and grateful to be able to fill a slot that was vacant inside of the offerings here in the area.
Sure. You know, it's
Yeah.
funny because I believe it was 2 days ago on your opening day, I pulled up Instagram, and the first thing that came up was a video of a smile on your face that I'm sure I've seen before, but you were fucking glowing, man. You've got a passenger on the front of you. You're doing, the standard tandem video and showing the sights and showing what's going on, but there was no doubt you were fucking in your element. You just look so happy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you recognizing that. And I have to say, I wasn't faking it. Like the thing is, that flight where we fly from, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like it's gorgeous. I get up in the air there and I look around and I'm just like, holy shit. My passenger is like, holy shit. It's like, I saw the picture on the website and I thought you'd like plucked some stock photo or something and like make it look better than it is, but it's 10 times better than the picture on the website,
Yeah, man.
And I'm right there with him, just going, wow, man, look at this. And I'm just flying around getting to share it with somebody, and loving life.
I mean,
Got a little drop
honestly,
out there.
that's the thing too, right? Is one of the huge benefits to having been a full-time instructor for the years that was I was stoked that I got to do what I was getting to do, and it was a bonus that I got to share it with someone else. I've said it a million times on the podcast. Oddly enough, my favorite way to skydive in the end turned out to be doing tandems, mainly because I loved being able to share that with other people, and I loved hearing someone tell me over and over every day, "You've got the greatest job in the world." Well, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. My best friend is Jamie Crawford, and he's just an elite base jumper, right? Like probably like the king of urban base. And we go out and jump buildings together, but he tells me the same thing, man. He still does tandems. And he's like, man, there's nothing like the experience of sharing somebody's first time in the air or in an amazing location like we have here in Moab. Flying over Canyonlands is jaw-dropping. Like it
Gotta
is
be.
just astoundingly beautiful. And sharing that with somebody and having them just hearing them just go, wow, wow, wow. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah,
there's nothing else like it. And I'll be honest with you, like I did about 14 or 1500 tandems in skydiving back in the late 90s into the early 2000s and then stopped doing them. And I loved when I got to have those really great experiences with people, but it was 50-50. It was part of it was a grind and part of it was really joyful,
sure.
but the gear was pretty not great back then,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had a lot of strong tandem jumps. And the gear we have is fantastic. Like
Mm,
we're 25 years later, the wing I have is phenomenal to fly. It's nothing like a skydiving tandem. It is a real performing wing.
sure.
And the harnesses are super comfortable and the whole thing is just so great. But I know with this business, I am very quickly going to hand off a lot of the responsibility to younger guys who are very excited to want to do the work. And I want to do every role in this company to the point where I understand the challenges of it. And
Sure.
right. And so that way that I can relate deeply with each of the guys who works here or the people who work here, the ladies who work here, so that when they are having a struggle bus moment or a gripe about something, I can say, yeah, I get it. I understand why that's a challenging thing, or here's the difficulties. But my goals are to do each part of the business myself until I understand it intimately, and then give that job to somebody else who's super excited to do it. And then I'll be happy to come out and fill in when support's needed. But I'm happy to give that work to those pilots that are excited to fly.
That's awesome. Well, and I mean, that's the thing, right? That's the maturity in you going, all right, It's a joy to be able to do this, but it's also great to be able to share and to take a step back and then do your own thing as well as have the successful business going.
Yeah, I'll be 52 next month, and so like I'm a month and a day to my birthday. And my body's been through the ringer, and my whole life right now is focused around my health is my number one priority,
Yep.
keeping myself healthy. And I've been dealing with Lyme disease and mold infection and a whole bunch of other stuff over the last couple of years. And so I have no desire to go out and want to do 10 flights a day. I
Yeah.
used to love to do that, but now I don't have the stamina for it, and I'll be wrecked afterwards and not able to do it the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of like kind of, surrendering to what stage of life this is, but also, keeping myself as optimally active as I can be to get the most value from it and be able to give it back.
Sure. No, and as I sit here with an ice pack on my shoulder, believe me, I completely understand. Now,
Yeah.
I did have a question because you and I are close in age, and we've been skydiving for almost the same. I think I'm a couple of years behind you, but eh, especially now with all the advances that have happened and all the changes that have made, is there any part of you that was like, fuck, I wish I was like 27 now because it's so much more advanced than when it was?
Man, I don't think so. I think I hit the really like the arc of the rainbow that was like the sweet spot of everything. I got to fly the very first wingsuits that came on the market. I got to fly the very first cross brace canopies that were worth flying. Like I got to be right on that cutting edge. So when I started base jumping, there was no wingsuits. Everything went, you fell like a rock. There wasn't even tracking suits. I got to
Right.
be I was there the day that the guy flew smoke pants for the very first time. So I got to be on this cutting edge of so many different parts of it, whether it's in the canopy piloting arena or in the wingsuiting side. I'm glad that I have hung up my wingsuit. Like I got out alive. I've won the game.
Sure.
The video game's over, and I'm still here to enjoy my life when so many others aren't. So
Sure.
I think, is there anything I missed out? I don't think so, man. I think I got the tail end of another era that's long gone.
Yep.
So World Free Fall Convention, loose, crazy. Um, Phoenix Skydive Center in Zephyr Hills, Florida, at the end of its heyday, right? The Christmas boogie there with half a dozen otters lined up, and
Yep.
just really like getting the sweet end of that 70s, 80s, 90s kind of time and the beginning of the 2000s. I don't think I missed anything, man. I'm stoked, and just it's all gratitude.
I mean, I'm kind of there with you. I was lucky enough to get into the heyday of Cross Keys and the end of that particular era when it was still
Yeah.
kind of, it was all still the Wild West and we were getting away with a lot of shit
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and even though I didn't experience a lot of the proper old days that were just before me, I got to hang out with a lot of people that did. Um, I will admit that there's a few twinges here and there when I watch like the event they just had in Dubai, the base jumping event off the Burj Khalifa. You can't not look at that and go, all right, that's the fucking coolest thing ever. I'm watching Katie and Matt do a husband and wife two-way off of that, and you're just kind of going, all right, fuck me, that's just so cool.
I was a twinge of envy when I saw that they had an event with a ramp where they invited a bunch of people, because I've had my name hanging there going, yeah, when you guys do this, because I know it'll happen eventually. Here's my
Right.
name, and I know the people. So I was a little bit envious when I saw that it happened and I didn't get the invite. But at the same time, I was at an event retreat in Miami, and we were focused on Zen Buddhism and the training of the Shaolin monks
Mm,
and psychedelic medicines. And I was in the middle of an environment where I've spent my whole life training to really be present to myself and to be open to a different kind of experience that is just as or more fulfilling than those base jumps.
sure, sure. Well,
Well,
and it's
I
awesome. It's awesome that you're in a position where you can recognize that because a lot of people have that same place that you're at, but they can't see it.
I jumped off a building in San Diego recently, a couple months ago. I was down there, and it's a plank, right? Like there's like a 10-inch wide thing that goes like 20 feet out,
Right.
and you've got to walk this plank all the way out to the end, and balance, and it was fun, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I've hit this point where like I've been there, done that, man. I've done it all.
Yep.
I've really enjoyed it. I've had the shit scared out of me. I've nearly died. I've had the best experiences of my life, and I've also seen my friends dying all around me, and I'm pretty content at this
Yep.
point. Pretty content. I don't think I've missed anything. I- If there's one thing I'd like to do is go to Antarctica and jump in Queens Mods Land,
Mm,
which is most people have never heard of. It's just the most epic mountains in the middle of nowhere, Antarctica, and that would be like a bucket list that isn't checked for me.
sure.
And
Sure.
but that's extreme exploring, extreme adventuring as much as it is jumping.
Sure, sure. Well,
Yeah.
and I was lucky enough to get you as a contributor to the last book that I wrote, and telling a fantastic story about fear and how to work through it and overcome it. And we won't go into the story here because I want people to buy the book. So if you want to hear this
Yeah.
amazing story about Yosemite Valley and Jason and his adventure there, by all means, please do read it because it's a fucking great story. But I want you to give people all the details on how they can find you in regard to the paragliding in Moab. And for the paragliding pilots that are sitting here listening to this going, fuck, he said something about handing this off to the young guys and they want to know where to go. How do they get a hold of you? How can they come book a flight with you? How can they maybe come to work for you?
Yeah, awesome. So on Instagram, we're Paraglide Moab. Same thing on Facebook, and it's paraglidemoab.com for the website. Those are our main channels where you can find us. And we offer solo towing. So anybody whether you've towed before or not, if you've flown a paraglider, have a license, have your own glider, or you want to learn, we've got the facilities to be able to teach people how to tow. And what that means is it's a lot more like a drop zone where you could do a bunch of tows in a row and get a bunch of airtime and develop some skills and have a coach on a radio and get the airtime. That's a lot harder to do when you've got to make laps on hiking a hill or something like that,
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm.
And the location is just scenic, beautifully scenic. And the community here in Moab has been so supportive. I want to say thank you to every one of my friends and family and local community here and far who have supported this endeavor. You guys have been really critical, keeping the vibe high. All the vibes are awesome. I really appreciate you all.
Awesome. I can't wait to show up on your doorstep and check it all out.
Can't wait to take you up, man.
So
Yeah.
now, for those that are experienced pilots and they're looking to do something like that for work, what kind of experience level do they need before they should be reaching out to you?
Yeah, USHPA tandem, advanced tandem certificate. Yeah.
Okay, so shit that's way out of my wheelhouse. If they're experienced, they know what it is.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Man, Jason, as always, fucking amazing catching up with you. Like I said
You too.
at the beginning, the last time we talked, you were in a fair amount of pain and recovering from a lot of time on the table. So it's good to see you up and going. I was thrilled to see that video, and I can't wait to see what comes next for you.
Thanks, Dean, man. I really have enjoyed the conversation today and always enjoy the time we get to spend together. And it's your turn to come visit me.
Hell yes, brother, and you know I will, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'll
so
look.
much.
You got it.
See ya.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD. Head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.